What's going on, guys? What's going on, everybody? Woo! Let's go video. Okay, so let's talk about the WBE. So I realized that I have over doubled in size in the past 2 months, 3 months, whatever, okay? So I know that some of you probably don't know what the heck the WBE is. So I'm here to explain it to you. What is the WBE? What does it stand for? It's clearly an acronym. It stands for Wolf Beats Everybody. This is what it stands for. These are the rules. I don't make the rules, okay? So, some of you might not know, if you are new to Pokemon Generation 8, or if you haven't watched a lot of like YouTube content before for Pokemon, you may not know about something called Draft League. So, the way that a Draft League works is, everyone is given a total pool of Pokemon sorted into tiers. As you can see on your screen, there's the Gigantamax Pokemon, the S tier, A, B, C tier. 4 C, B, A, S. 5 tiers total, okay? And you get a certain amount of picks from each tier. So you got 1 S tier, 1 A tier in this league, 3 B, 3 C, or 4 C, and 1 G Max. You can only take Pokemon from those tiers. Sounds pretty straightforward so far, right? The interesting thing is that each person can only take each Pokemon can only be picked once. So for example, if I pick Dracovish, nobody else can pick Dracovish for the rest of the whole season. And it also means that if somebody else picks Dracovish and I really wanted Dracovish, I'm out of luck. I can't use it. So there are 16, I think, coaches. I'm pretty sure there are 16 coaches, and it's a snake draft. So the first person, second, 3, etc., all through 16, and then 16th person gets to pick twice, and then it goes back up. So that's the way that works. You can pick in any order, but you have to follow the tiering requirements. Yeah. And so the WBE is one type of draft league. The format I just described to you is what a draft league is in general. The WBE is one specific draft league that I have participated in 3 times. This is now my 4th season. And somehow, despite the battles being single battles, I have kind of somehow managed to win every season. And actually, hang on, give me 1 second. I'll be right back. I know this is more like, this isn't really YouTube stuff, but like, whatever. So last season there was a prize, actually. And the prize, if you will allow me, was this belt. WB actually stands for World Battle Entertainment. This was the belt for last season's prize. It's a really cool belt. I won it. I own it. It lives in my house now. But yeah, so I am the 3-time champion. I am undefeated. I honestly would like to lose this season, but I'm not gonna throw. I do not want to win 4 times in a row. I didn't even really want to win 3 times in a row. But I don't want to win, but I will not lose on purpose. So, I kind of feel bad having won every time because there's so many talented players in the league. But you know what? Like, that's just how it works sometimes. Sometimes you win. So, anyway, with that out of the way, it's super fun. I love Draft League. It lets you do really, really cool stuff because even though you have a roster of 10 Pokemon, you only bring 6 each match. So 10 or 11 depending on the league, but it's just so much fun. You get to do some really cool sets. My last season, which I won, I actually used counter bulky Gengar in the finals to win, and Choice Scarf Tornadus T, for example. On my season 1 team, I know I had Girder and Sliggoo. I don't remember I had anything too crazy on my season 2 team, though I do remember Fortress was really good. Fortress, Entei, Mega Tyranitar, Mew, Tornadus T, Amoonguss. I had some good Pokemon season 2, and then last season, I had Jigglypuff, who was amazing. Basically, it lets you use these Pokemon that are underrated and aren't used so much in like normal competitive play, and lets you like do really cool stuff with them. Anyway, I think it's a ton of fun. It's run by A-Drive, who's a great guy. I really like him a lot. He's a friend. So yeah, so he set this up a couple years ago, and I got to join in. I actually got to join in because the coach dropped out. So yeah. Anyway, with all that being said, I think it's a blast. I really love this league, and I really love the format. So, anyway, this is a draft. This is my draft breakdown. Now that I've given you the whole intro, and I'm going to be talking through the Pokemon that I'm going to be using for these next 8 weeks, and then hopefully top cut. So, let's just talk about it. Let's just talk about the team. I had the first pick overall in the draft, which is kind of not great in my opinion, because once you pick your first Pokemon, you have to wait like 32 more Pokemon to pick again, more or less. Because, 2 through 15 goes, and then 2 through 16 goes, and then 16 through 2 goes again. So I knew I wasn't going to be picking again for a while. There are a couple really good Pokemon that were in this tier in this draft, but I figured I had to take Dracovish, right? Like, he is so strong. I like him a lot. Mascot pick in the end, although I did change my mascot. So, in Generation 7, I was the Milwaukee Bewares. I am now the DC Dracovish. Big shoutouts to Bill Standish, amazing artist and a good friend. Like him a lot for the logo. And we had help from Locke as well. So, thank you to those really talented artists. I'm really happy with what they did with the logo. It's Dracovish, right? It only needs one attack. There's, like, only one person can have Ferrothorn, only one person can have Toxapex, only one person can have Seismitoad. So there's a lot of players who don't love switching into Dracovish, in my opinion. I didn't really think too much about it. I didn't have a ton of time to prep. I considered grabbing a G-Max Mon, but I figured I was more likely to have, like, a good G-Max Mon on the way back than I was to have a really good, like, S-tier or something like Dracovish. It just felt right, you know? So I grabbed it. I think Dracovish is really cool. It's kind of one-dimensional, to be honest, but I'm okay with that because the one dimension is death, and yeah, that's a pretty good dimension to be on the others, to be on the doling side rather than the receiving side. Anyway, then things got tricky because Dracovish was an easy pick. By the time it got back to me, a lot of the really good G-Max Pokemon had gone. Gengar was gone, Corviknight was gone, Grimmsnarl was gone. A lot of the ones that I thought were really good were gone. And the thing is that in this draft, so in some drafts, like, the Mega Pokemon in the past gens or G-Max Pokemons in this gen will be tiered, so, like, some G-Max Pokemon will, like, do things for you. Like, the better G-Max Pokemon will be more expensive for you, effectively. We don't have to get into the specifics of how, but, in this draft, they were all treated the same. So, G-Max Eevee and Pikachu and Meowth were the same as G-Max Duraludon. Or, you know, other G-Max Pokemon as well. So, there weren't that many good G-Max Pokemon left when it got to me, given that my first pick. Like, there was Lapras, but I didn't want to start out with, like, Lapras Dracovish, you know, I didn't want the double water typing. In the end, I decided on Duraludon. I'm not super sold on the tower here. On the one hand, Duraludon, it's really strong, it hits really hard. On the other hand, the G-Max move is pretty bad. Oh, sorry. For this league, you can't Dynamax. There's no Dynamax. There's only Gigantamax. So, I honestly prefer Duraludon's Max move, Max Dragon, versus the G-Max move. But I figured, like, Dynamax Duraludon's a pretty good Pokemon. It's good in VGC, although the ability helps it a lot. Max Steel is good typing. It gets Steel and Electric Dragon and Dark for coverage, which is pretty good. It can be Assault Vest. It can be fast. It can be slow. It's in a decent speed tier. It's like somewhere in the 80s, I think. It hits 150 as max speed stat. I think it's like 85. It's like solid, you know? Like, I'm not sure how good this will be. I don't love it as a G-Max form, but I like it as a Dynamax Pokemon, if that makes sense. So, I think learning how to use this Pokemon is going to be really big. Even though I was repeating Dragon typing, which I wasn't crazy about, Duraludon gave me a Steel-type Pokemon, which is important, because I think a lot of the good Steel types were already going at that point. Like, I know both Corviknight forms had gone at that point. And the thing is that Dracovish is only weak to Fairy and Dragon, and Duraludon, thanks to Steel typing, is not weak to either of those types. So, you don't have to worry too much about, like, they don't share weaknesses, is what I'm saying. Duraludon being weak to Ground and Fighting, who Dracovish is not weak to. So yeah, they don't share weaknesses with each other, so I figured it was okay to start off with Double Dragon. Especially because Dracovish doesn't really play as a Dragon type, it plays as a Water type. Next up, so then I came to the A tier, and I got to pick two back-to-back. So I picked Duraludon and Rotom together. I was like, okay, let's see. I want to start covering weaknesses. Rotom is immune to ground. It's weak to water. I have 2 water resists. It's weak to rock. I have a rock resist. It's a fairy resistant, which is good because I currently don't have a fairy resistance. And the thing about Generation 8 is that there's not many great fire type Pokemon, right? Like, I say, okay, not many great fire type Pokemon. You probably say, oh, Wolf, what about Arcanine? And then my comments go, don't you know how to speak Pokemon? It's not called Arcanine, it's called Arcanine. And I say, I've gotten a lot of comments recently, and I think it's just because I've grown, and you know, as with any growth, I'm sure most of my new viewers have high IQ, but, you know, sometimes people end up here by accident. They don't realize that it's, you know, this content's not for everybody. You have to be very big brain to understand this, right? And I get a lot of comments that are like, Wolf, are you on drugs? Like, Wolf, like, did you forget to take your medication? Like, just like a lot of like really like, I feel like people are hating because I'm high energy. Like, and that's just such a weird, like, do you want me to be low energy? This is Rotom Heat for me. It has the ability Levitati. Its fire and electric type is very good because it can hit both grass and water type Pokemon. Also, flying type Pokemon are weak. I like Rotom Heat for me because it can burn things and be a defensive Pokemon. However, It can also run Nasty Plot, or a choice item, which limits your move choice, with the added benefit of boosting one of your stats 1.5 times. This allows Rotom Heat Formy to serve multiple roles, playing either a defensive pivot thanks to its immunity to ground type and only few weaknesses, or a more offensive breaker, thanks to the fact that the overall format is slower, and Rotom Heat Formy is relatively fast for this slow format. Is that what you want? It doesn't get defog anymore, which is kind of a drag. So, things I like about these first three, and my next pick will probably make things a little bit more clear as to what I was going for with these first three. However, I'm not looking great on hazards. Duraludon has Stealth Rock, and that's it. Rotom doesn't get defog anymore because move tutors aren't in this gen right now, and so yeah. So I don't have any hazards except for Stealth Rock and Duraludon. That's I think one of the weak points of my draft overall, and it's something that I was a little worried about. But I would rather grab a Fire type. I was thinking there's really not that many good Fire types. There's Arcanine in doubles. Charizard is probably your next best bet in doubles. In singles, like, I honestly don't know. Like, I feel like there's not any good Fire types, and I was like, basically, I had a plan, right? I had a plan for what I was picking, and Rotom Heat, with typing-wise, helped a lot. I like the speed. I like that it could be offensive or defensive. And I was really worried I was going to get this. I was so worried I wasn't going to get this. So I know Whimsicott might seem like a weird pick for a singles league, but hear me out. First of all, it lets me complete my Fairy. So I just, with Whimsicott's pick and 4 picks, I got both Fairy, Dragon, Steel Core, aka Fairy, Whimsicott, Dragon, Dracovish, and Steel-type Duraludon, and Fire, Water, Grass. I got Dracovish, Rotom Heat, and Whimsicott for Fire, Water, Grass. And so, that's really good synergy. The other thing about Whimsicott is that it has really good support moves. First of all, it gets Encore, which can be really nice in singles. It's really good at stopping a sweep, so people can't just, like, mindless Dragon Dance or whatever in front of me without having to worry about potentially eating an Encore and getting locked into it. Whimsicott's really fast. I was worried about Duraludon, Dracovish, and Rotom are all kind of in the mid-speed tier, so I was a little worried about them being all around the same speed, so I figured Whimsicott could help a lot with that. The other thing about Whimsicott is that it is pranked through Tailwind, which of course is nowhere near as good in singles as it is in doubles. However, if I get 2 turns of Tailwind and I get Choice Band Dracovish in, I'm getting 2 kills, right? You know, you don't need a ton of time with Dracovish for it to be KOing stuff. And if they can't revenge kill it, or if you get like late game Dracovish, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna switch into? You know? Yeah. I think Whimsicott has a lot of cool options in general. I know again it's more of a doubles Pokemon than it is a singles Pokemon, but you get some cool stuff. Like you can do Cotton Guard, you can do like Sub Leech Seed, you could run Grass Whistle. Like there's a couple things you can do with it that I think are pretty neat, and I really like the Tailwind support. I really liked the typing, and the typing and Tailwind support I thought would be really, really nice for my team. Yeah, I thought I could really benefit from that. So, yeah, that's that. And then I grabbed Orbeetle. So I picked Whimsicott and Orbeetle together, and I'm really glad. I was considering waiting when I took Orbeetle because I wasn't sure it would go right away. However, I'm really glad I picked it because as soon as I picked Orbeetle, A-Drive was like, oh man, like I really wanted Orbeetle, like that's a huge snipe, etc, etc. And so I was like, okay, I'm glad I grabbed Orbeetle. Orbeetle's broken, dude. Orbeetle, I think, is one of the most broken things on my team. It gets sticky webs, and if you're a VGC player, you might not really realize how much of a big deal that is, because I didn't really understand it at first. Sticky webs, anything that touches the ground, if you have sticky webs set up on the opponent's side of the field, it's an entry hazard just like Stealth Rock. Except instead of dealing damage, it lowers the opponent's speed stat by 1. And I have a lot of Pokemon on my team, like I mentioned, that are mid-speed tier, and that really want to be moving first. So, if you had Dracovish and you had Sticky Web set up on the opponent's side of the field, that's effectively like Choice Scarf Dracovish for anything touching the ground, because you'll give them a -1 speed drop. So it'll outspeed almost the entire format. I think the one exception is Dragapult, and then any Scarf Pokemon or anything that's flying or levitating. But that's still pretty good in my opinion. Like you still outspeed a lot of things, and if Dracovish is moving first, it's in a good position. Duraludon and Rotom are 2 other Pokemon that I think really take advantage of sticky webs. And Orbeetle can do a lot of really cool stuff outside of just you know, just the obvious sticky web stuff, right? It's not just a sticky web bot. So when I was picking this Pokemon, I was debating. I don't remember what was left at this point, but I was like, I could take Galvantula, I could take Vikavolt, I could take Araquanid, or I could take Orbeetle. But Vikavolt, Araquanid, and Galvantula, I already had an electric and a water type, so they didn't add anything to me in terms of typing. So I was like, Orbeetle's the best one that doesn't add typing. It also gets Recover, and it's really defensive. It gets Recover, and I know PokeMMG is a big fan of these. So in this league, you can do some baton passing stuff. You can't pass speed and another stat, but you can pass other stats that as long as you're not passing speed. And Orbeetle gets Iron Defense, it gets Calm Mind, it gets Stored Power, and it gets Baton Pass. So you can run Orbeetle in a way that is bulky and Sticky Webs Recover and kind of, or you know, that kind of thing. Or you can run Orbeetle and you could have like a baton passing set. You want to pass like bulk to Dracovish. Or you can run Iron Defense Body Press and like, you know, hello Tyranitar, goodbye Tyranitar. You know, like what's Tyranitar gonna do? Orbeetle's also really fast. It's base 90, which for this format is actually super fast. So yeah, it's faster than a lot of what I anticipate to play against. And it also gets screens. So I think Orbeetle's a great Pokemon. I think it's really underrated in singles, especially in Draft League. I think it probably should not have been the lowest tier possible. But I'm not complaining. I grabbed it. So we'll see if Orbeetle lives up to my expectations. I think it will. I have a really good feeling about Orbeetle. This pick might not look amazing. Garbodor's not a Pokemon I love. Will be the first to say it. However, I wanted a grounded poison type because being weak to toxic spikes is a really big problem. Garbodor gives me spikes and toxic spikes. And that's really valuable. It has some stuff it can do. Like, I actually am not super familiar with Garbodor. I don't think it's super bulky or anything, but having a Pokemon that can use toxic spikes is really, I think it can be really helpful in Draft League, especially in this format where I feel like removal is not as present. So getting toxic spikes up on the opponent's side of the field feels like it could be a pretty big deal, in my opinion. Though of course, like we'll have to wait and see. But I feel like I just kind of wanted a grounded poison type that could set toxic spikes. There weren't that many other ones that I thought would be good enough that didn't like add really make me weak to certain typing. So I grabbed a Garbodor. I don't know if it's the best Pokemon. I don't anticipate bringing it very often, but who knows? I know it gets Gunk Shot. Like, I'm sure there are some interesting things you can do with it. I'm definitely going to do my best to use it, but it was kind of just like, it's probably like a Pokemon I'll bring when the opponent is really weak to hazards or where I really need a grounded poison type. The introduction of heavy-duty boots definitely, I think, changes things a little bit in terms of entry hazards, which is kind of why I'm not that worried that my removal isn't great, because, spoiler alert, our only removal right now is... we don't have any removal right now. We actually don't have any way of removing hazards at all. So, that's not amazing. That, like, not being able to remove hazards is kind of bad, frankly. So, Whimsicott doesn't get Defog right now, Rotom doesn't get Defog right now, or Beetle doesn't get Rapid Spin or Defog. So we're in a little bit of trouble in terms of hazards. I don't think Garbodor gets Defog. So I wanted to be able to set them so I could maybe force people to Defog. But thinking about hazards, that's my main focus right now. And then, they let me draft the most broken Pokemon. The most broken Pokemon in the game. Ice Table. They let me take Ice Table. For those of you who don't know, Ice Table was sent from Arceus. Arceus was like, only me or Ice Table could make it into Galar. And I want to send the strongest Pokemon, so he sent Ice Table. Look at him. Ice Table? First of all, you can't tell if he's upside down or right side up. Second of all, he's flat as heck. Third of all, Ice Table. Fourth of all, this thing is so good, and I'm going to destroy... This is going to be the kill leader. This is going to get the most KOs in the whole league. Probably not, but like, this thing is so unbelievably good, and I'm so happy I took it. I was considering, I feel like I was considering like Mudsdale or some other Pokemon that weren't as good as Ice Table. But then I took Ice Table and I was like, oh my god, it's so good. I don't want to spoil, I'm just going to say it, I don't want to spoil the plans I have for Ice Table, because I got plans. Ice Table and I have been in the lab, bro. I've been thinking about Ice Table. I'm just not going to say anything else except that this thing is broken, and it does get Rapid Spin, which helps me a lot. But this thing is broken, yeah, watch out for Ice Table. Next up, so Girder might look like a weird pick. As I mentioned, I actually won WBE Season 1 with Girder. There were a couple Pokemon I was considering. I think we would have rather had Hitmontop, but it was taken by the time it got to me, which makes sense. So I took Girder. And Girder might not look like a great mom, but it's actually really bulky with Eviolite. It can run Bulk Up, Drain Punch. It gets Close Combat this generation, I'm pretty sure. I know Conkeldurr does. And Girder gets Defog. So I was going to take either Girder or Braviary, but in the end I decided on Girder because... I wanted a fighting type. Girder gets Mach Punch for priority, it gets Drain Punch, it gets Bulk Up, good coverage moves, and then it also gets Defog to remove hazards. I figured, like, with Avalugg and Girder both removing... Like, I knew I wanted this slot to remove hazards, and I like Girder the best. And it's a Pokemon that I just like in general. Like, I've used it before. I think it's a really cool Pokemon, so... I like using not fully evolved Pokemon in Draft League. I think that's kind of one of my hallmarks is I find smart ways to use not fully evolved Pokemon. Like, for example, I used Duosion really well last season in the WBE, and I was able to win with that. And there were matches where I beat Terrakion with it, and overall it was just like I use it to just completely wall Mega Medicham. And so Girder to me is a Pokemon that I don't anticipate bringing always, but I'm sure there are some people who are Girder weak, and it's nice to have if I really need hazards removed and I don't want to rely on Rapid Spin Avalugg, then I can rely on Girder instead for G-Fog. So yeah. With that being said, my next pick, I had 2 B tiers left. So my order was I picked the top tiers, I grabbed Whimsicott, and then I filled out my 4 bottom tiers, and then I was really torn on what to get in the last slot, in the last 2 slots, I should say. And I realized I had a Spiker, I had a Toxic Spiker in Garbodor, I had Stealth Rocks with Duraludon, and I had Sticky Webs with Orbeetle, but I didn't have that many Stealth Rock users, and I love Jigglypuff, dude. Jigglypuff is he's always been good to me. Jigglypuff he really pulled his weight last generation in the last season of the WBE, and when I saw he was in B tier, I kind of felt like, I don't know, he provides Stealth Rock, he provides Special Bulk and Physical Bulk. He can go both ways, which is really nice for a Pokemon. So yeah, I kind of felt like it was such a good Pokemon. It's in B tier. I didn't have a Rock type, which is new. It provided me Stealth Rock. It provides me Weather, so if I'm worried about Sun or Rain, I at least have something that I can use to overwrite the weathers a little bit. And Jigglypuff was really one of my I think Jigglypuff was maybe my most defining Pokemon of last season. So I really wanted to take it back. I think it's a great Pokemon. I didn't even get to do everything I wanted to do with Jigglypuff last season. There were a couple sets that I didn't get to try out, so maybe this generation I can do it. But yeah, I love Jigglypuff, and I'm really excited to use it again in this season. And last but not least, I knew that nobody was going to take this Pokemon, and so I saved it for last. I grabbed Cursula. So now I have 3 Stealth Rock users in Duraludon, Jigglypuff, and Cursula. I haven't actually used Cursula in this generation yet, but I really like it. I really love Perish Song. I think you can do some really, really neat things with Cursula and its ability, Perish Body. Yeah, Cursula, unlike Galarian Corsola, it's not bulky on the physical side, but it has a really good special attack stat, and good coverage moves. Well, decent coverage moves as well. So this thing typically is going to be probably more of a special wall or a special attacker. It's pretty slow. My team is kind of all across the board in terms of speed. Some of them are fast, some of them are really slow, like Ice Table, Girder, Jigglypuff, Cursula. Those are all really slow. But I feel like I'm pretty evenly distributed. My team is really, really the main speed weakness is that Whimsicott is the fastest thing, which isn't that fast. But there's not that many fast Pokemon this gen, so I think we'll be okay. But yeah, Cursula, I liked what it provided. It provides me a spin blocker. I have some really good hazards, and not everybody has a Defogger. Defog is much less common, so having a spin blocker could be good, I think, depending on what the Rapid Spinner is. Yeah, overall, I like Cursula. There weren't that many Pokemon in B tier that I really wanted, and I don't know. I figured Cursula provided me a Ghost type, it provided me Stealth Rocks, and, I think I just don't know enough about it, so I don't know if it's going to be a good pick or a bad pick, because the low physical defense really is a shame because it's such a physical metagame, but it's good to have specially bulky Pokemon as well, because I do have Jigglypuff for physical bulk and Duraludon as well, so having a special ball, and Avalugg, obviously, Ice Table is kind of the best physical wall, it's insane, but, yeah, honestly, I think that's pretty much it. I'm really excited for the season. I'm actually playing my Week 1 game tonight, so hopefully that goes well. And, yeah, I'm super excited for the season. I'm really excited to use some of these Pokemon in Draft League. I want to see if my Whimsicott Dracovish stuff works. I'm really excited to use Orbeetle and Ice Table. I think those things are just going to be broken. And, yeah, I think overall it's going to be a really good season, and I'm really, really excited that we're starting back up. So, let me know in the comments down below what you think of my team. Please leave a like if you like this video. Yeah, I think this is going to be a ton of fun, and I know people love my Draft League content, so I'm so excited for you guys to be providing this in the channel again, because I know it's some of my most liked stuff. So, I think that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, I'll see you tomorrow for another video. Wolfie beats everybody. DC Dracovish. Get your DC Dracovish merch that doesn't exist, but if you want it, I can make some. Okay. Goodbye.